Alright everyone, this is gonna be a long form tutorial on how to get characters from TA um, into builder files. Um, this is basically what we're gonna end up with. I'll open up in Blender. By default, there is no simple way to export a player character from the game. You have to do it. The step is the work is mostly manual and it requires a lot of technical knowledge. This video is mostly as a guide on how to do such. As long as things are followed step by step, you should be fine. First things first, we need a couple of things before we start. First of all, we need Unreal Engine 5.2.21. Um, I'll show the Epic Games Launcher. Here we are at the Epic Games Launcher. Make sure you have Unreal Engine 5.2.1 installed, or any version that has 5.2 in it. It can't be 5.1 or 5.3, it has to be 5.2. If you can get the actual version, 5.2.1, then the better. Next up, we need to download the project. And before we download the project, make sure you have GitHub Desktop installed. GitHub Desktop can be found. This is how the software looks. Make sure you obtain it from the web by typing GitHub Desktop. You can download GitHub from here, and make sure you have a GitHub account or not. Next up is downloading the repository. This is where the project is located at. This is what you will be using for the rest of the tutorial. So I'll have a link in the video description that should lead you to this repository. This is the whole source code of the game. You want to press code and open with GitHub Desktop, and that's gonna leave you and it's gonna put you on the steps required to download the repository. That's gonna take several minutes or an hour depending on your internet. Same with the Unreal Engine installation, keep that in mind. Once you have the main setup done, you can proceed to opening up the project. The project will be in your download location, or where you chose to actually install it. And we're gonna move into opening the project. Just click here, and it's gonna start loading all the asset sources necessary, and we'll open the project. Alright, so the project opened for me. On your end, this might be a bit different. You may have a window on the corner saying something related to shader compilation. Shader compilation will usually take the longest. If it shows something like that, like a shader compilation thing, don't open any levels or maps because it will basically freeze the editor, so you have to like let it sit by. If no shader compilation window shows up, you can basically move to the next step. Extracting character models is a bit of a hassle, we could say. A lot of it is manual and requires you to do things in a specific way in order to get your stuff done. So I'm gonna delete some models here that I am no longer using, and I'll be back. Alright, I'm back. I cleared up some folders for the sake of this tutorial. Alright, so let's go through what we have done so far. We downloaded GitHub Desktop. We copied the whole project, and we also have Unreal Engine 5.2.1 installed because it's not gonna let you open it if you don't have it. It's important. Alright, so next thing up is to get the player file that you're gonna be using for this character extraction. This step is a bit interesting, so make sure you do it properly. You're gonna go into your Steam installation. You're gonna right click, go to properties, um, installed files, browse, and this will open on your file browser where Toaster Arena is installed. Click on this folder called toaster_reboot, saved games, characters, and this is a collection of all your characters inside the game. Keep in mind that these are not model files, but rather data files that the game uses to recreate your character in-game. We are gonna take one of these and put it in the engine folder so that we can extract its data and convert it into a mesh we can use in Blender or an external format. In this case, I'm going to select pirate_SMG because I feel like it's a pretty good one to use. So we're going to right click, copy, and then we will move to our project location where we decided to download it. In my case, I have it on Religion 4 projects, Toaster Arena Remake. And once we open this folder, we want to navigate into its saved folder. In my case, it's called saved games, characters. This folder called saved games may not exist on your end, so you may have to manually create a folder with the same name. Make sure it follows the same and matches the exact name with the uppercase C. This folder may be empty for you, and that's good, it doesn't matter. What we're doing is pasting the file we copied from Steam and putting it there. This will give us the things we need. As for the project, make sure you load into the menu map because that is what we are going to be using for extracting the files. What you can do is make sure you are in the content area, click on maps, technical maps, LVL menu, and it's going to open this level. Now from here, the only thing we need to do is to click here, make sure new editor window pi is clicked, and click it. This will open up the game in a new window and will allow you to extract the player character. If your player character isn't selected, you can go into modules, presets, and make sure you click on the preset. It may not load at first, or you may have some shader compilation issues. Just click it 3 times. If it still doesn't load, close the window, open it up again, and repeat the steps. As for this, the engine is a bit slow when it comes to catching files. So we basically need to click this 3 times just to make sure that it's loaded. Normally you only have to do this once, but for the sake of making sure things work, we may do it 3 to 4 times. Now this is where the extraction process comes into play. We want to click in modules, and we want to click this button called Armor Debug. This will open up a window to the side which allows us to inspect all the variables that make up this character. What we are interested on is this variable called AVA variable. This is a struct with multiple values and substructures. We only care about its initial value. We're gonna right click on this and press copy. Now we can close the window and move on to the next step. For our next step, we're gonna make a new map for extraction. In this case, just right click on the maps folder, right click level, and we're gonna call this level extract model. And this map, this level, we are only using it for model extraction. Now that we have this, we can continue with the next step. There is some tools in the engine that make it somewhat less tedious to extract models from TA. There's still a lot of manual work required, but it's a bit less compared to how it was originally. To do this, navigate to the content area, click on blueprints, cars or characters, character export tool, BP_merge test. Select, drag into the world. While it's selected, make sure the location is set to 0. Click on this arrow, double click, and then we can move on to the building process. These variables are mostly just for debugging. You don't need to pay attention to them, so we can close this. What we are interested on is on the tool area. We have a similar variable to the one we copied the values from. We simply just right click, paste, and as you can see the variable is now filled. We are gonna click the save all button, so that way we have a backup in case things go south. We save everything, we create a restoration point with that. And now we're gonna follow these steps. Ignore any typos on this. Your version will probably have this a bit more clean. So we're gonna do this step by step, clicking on each button that's labeled by number. First step is to erase everything, just to make sure we do a proper cleanup. Next up is to load the model. This will recreate your customized character with materials, textures, everything, but it'll be split. But this is part of the process. Next up is to press the build button. And before we do that, we will navigate into content, export, and then we can click the build button. This will take a couple of minutes or seconds depending. You will see an error. Keep in mind that this error is totally normal and supposed to happen. It's expected. You're supposed to click on no. This window will be shown many times depending on your complexity. The complex the character, the less it will show. So we're going to click this several times. Again, 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 again. And this will now create a copy of each material, and we'll split the models and create copies for everything. We're almost done with the setup. However, we're still missing some crucial steps like merging and optimizations. We can't single-handedly use every single material to make our character. For example, if we have a material that's being used multiple times, we'd rather use that instead of just having a bunch of stuff. So the next step is to click the optimize button. And this will cycle through everything and try to merge similar assets as much as it can. Keep in mind that the more complex your character is and the more unique pieces it has, the more complicated it'll be and more manual work you'll have to do. And this is exactly what I mean by manual work. After the optimization process is done, we will hit the clean button. And this will rename all the materials properly. We may get an error. That's not totally normal. Once everything's done, we can hit the save button. Now, we're going to be left with a couple of materials here that we may or may not need. We're going to filter this out. Make sure you click on the filter button. Make sure you hover over material. Make sure you have material instance selected. Now click on the filter that will show right here. This will now show any filters that we have in our project that match the material. So we're mostly going to check if each material is referenced by any model here. As you may see, the preview has already changed. We will no longer be using the preview anymore. So we can click here and hit erase model. Now most of our work will rely on the export folder. We are basically going to be cleaning up references. Select a material, press delete, and you'll see that it's referencing something. This material is referencing the tail. We hit cancel. As you can see, we have multiple materials of the same. Probably the engine thought that some colors are matching or mismatching and thought they were unique materials. This is bound to happen, and it gets exponentially bigger the more complex a model is. Mostly the software just isn't too smart to detect if a model needs to be merged or not. So the best thing to do is basically just merge everything by hand. It isn't complicated, just I'm going through all the materials and verifying which ones have appropriate colors. This one has gray, red, 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 so we could use this one as the base. So we're going to select the material, press F2 to rename, press Ctrl C to copy, and now we're going to select the other ones by holding Ctrl and clicking, hit delete, and this part here, click this, press Ctrl V to paste, and select, then click replace references. Hit OK, and this will leave you with a material that is only for the arm. Repeat the same steps for any material that's duplicated and continue with the video. I'm gonna pause right here and do those steps manually and I'll get back. Alright, I have done and combined all the meshes, and I decided to unpause here to show you something that may happen on your end. As you can see, we have two body materials. They aren't, keep in mind that there might be materials that may look the same but aren't. A good way to check is to open them. This material has undersuit texture on it. This one doesn't, but they have the same name. Make sure that those things are checked before doing anything, as this is an important step. Other things you can do is to modify the material directly. In this case, I'm gonna copy the fur color 3 and paste it to glow shine, and that's gonna give me some girly highlights. You can do this too on your end if you want to alter your character and perform slight color adjustments before we move on to the next area. You can do even more crazier things if you have more experience with the engine and knows some of its ins and outs. For now, we're gonna stick to the basics. Next up is to make sure everything is named properly. This body material is mostly used for the undersuit, so we might as well name it undersuit. We have a backpack material. We also want to make sure that we get rid of any words or letters that are that were added in by the baking process. Make sure there isn't any underscore mat words there for each of every single material here, because we don't need those. Alright, click save, make sure everything is always saved. Now the second part of the process is gonna start. We can unclick this material instance filter and it's gonna show all the meshes. Now there's two ways to do this. If you want to have a model with no morph targets, that means no facial animation or support for facial animation. You can merge everything into a singular mesh and call it a day. However, if you want to have facial animations, you will want to follow what I do. We're going to select all the meshes except for the models that are supposed to be facially animated. In this case, we want to also unselect the skull. Press Ctrl and click to unselect something. We want to unselect the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and the other eye. This will give us a model that doesn't have any that that doesn't have a face basically. We're gonna right click on this and click merge skeletal mesh. This will create a new skeletal mesh that matches what we're supposed to. Make sure you rename it properly. In this case, SK Pirate Scout. This is important. If you open the mesh, you'll be able to inspect the model. You'll notice that it doesn't have a skull or any internal meshes. This is part of the tutorial. This is what we're looking for. Next up is to do the same, but for the whole mesh. The reason for this is because we want to have a model that lets us do the bait. So select all the meshes, but unselect the merged one that we just did. Right click. Oh, before we do anything, do the same selection. Make sure if there's any meshes that have SK invisible, unselect them because we don't need them. Merge skeletal mesh, and this will make another copy of it, but this one has all the meshes in materials, that everything we need for the character. This is the whole character. As you may see, it doesn't have any morph targets. This is sadly a technical constraint. So in this case, we're just gonna rename the mesh to Pirate Scout _ full, and then we can move on to the next step. Make sure everything is saved. We are gonna do baking. We basically have to bake each material into its own textures so that we can use them outside, like Blender. We're gonna take the full model and we're gonna move this into a folder called baked inside the export folder. If you don't have the folder, please make one. After that's done, we're gonna open up the file. We will see a window called Asset, and we will click on Bake Out Materials. We will have this window here, as well as some LOD settings. We only want to select LOD 0. Make sure Properties has Emissive, Metallic, Roughness, Normal. Make sure the resolution is multiplied by 8. So we need 1024 for its resolution. That's a 2K texture for the character. Anything higher will crash your computer. Anything lower may be suffering from quality loss. I'm going to click on use mesh data so that our normals are applied properly. And we want to click confirm. This will initiate a long process that could take several minutes depending on the complexity of materials and meshes. I'll unpause the video once the process is finished. I got a crash instead. This may happen sometimes. It's usually related to memory or some parameters that need to be saved before things keep going. If there's a crash, don't panic about it. Just restart the project, reopen the project, and continue with the steps. Alright, just in case to avoid a crash, let's do a small little change to this model. Go into the search bar and type LODs. Number of LODs, set that to 1. Apply changes. And this will get rid of any of the LODs for the character. I believe that that's basically what's causing a crash. Again, bake out materials, and I'll get back to it once it's finished. Alright, so the process has finished on my end. We can close this, hit save. and then it's gonna populate a list of all the assets that the model is using. As you can see, the textures have a bit of a strange naming convention, so we also have to fix that externally to make sure everything's properly set up. So next up is to go to the filters, and we're gonna click on texture, then click on this filter, and we're gonna start renaming everything properly so that it's easier to work with. Another step we can do is to basically yeah there's another way to do this. Actually, my bad, hold on, ignore that. Once you have the filter enabled, make sure you go into settings and click on list. And now we're gonna start doing the fun part. We're gonna make sure we have each texture selected. Not each texture selected, we're gonna be manually modifying this just to clean it up. You don't have to do this, but keep in mind a cleaner environment is a faster working environment. So what we're going to be doing here is we want to delete all the numbers, leave this part where it says MI armor, and delete this. Make sure you have something like this: T for texture underscore armor base color. Armor, there might be other things here, but this basically specifies that the material named armor will use this texture. Copy this, and let's do the rest for this. Emissive color, just select, paste, enter. Metallic, select, paste, enter. A normal, select, paste, enter. Now we have the roughness, select, paste, enter. Now we have an armor, the armor textures all fully renamed and properly labeled. We're gonna do the same thing for each texture, and I'll pause the video here, and I'll get you back once this step has been fully finished. Popping in to mention that during export, you may notice that some textures are missing. For example, the icon only has a base color and emission. It may be the same for some other models. Keep in mind that this is totally normal. The material is basically exporting only the things that are being used for rendering. So you may see some missing textures, but worry not, that is totally expected. Alright, I am back. I have successfully renamed every single image. Make sure you click Save All, because this is important. You don't want to lose your progress. So all the images have been saved with a suffix of T underscore material name and then the type of texture they are: base color, emissive, metallic, normal, and roughness. This is the same for each material that was baked. Some materials may not have all the textures included, like the icons, where it's just a base color and emissive color. Same for the visor: base, emissive, and metallic, no normals or roughness. Once that's done, you can click out of the filter, click on settings, tiles, and now we can start the exporting process. We want to first export the textures into a folder. To do this, we're going to go into our Windows File Explorer, and we're going to choose a location to where we want to export the files to. In my case, I have a desktop folder called Export Test. In this case, I'm going to make a new folder inside that folder and call it Pirate Scout. This is the folder that we're going to be using for exporting the textures. Click on the texture filter, select all the textures by holding down Shift and clicking. So select the one, hold Shift, click the last one, and then we want to right click, Asset Actions, Export. We want to select the folder that we created, navigate to the Pirate Scout folder, hit save, and this will open up the window multiple times for each texture. Just hover your mouse over the save button and spam click until it's finished. Now that it's done, we want to do a couple of things. We are not gonna export this model because we require the blend shapes for facial animations. So we are gonna export this model instead. This one doesn't have the skull or any facial attributes that are required for animation. So we're gonna right click on this model, Asset Actions, Export. We will go to the exported folder that we made, Pirate Scout, SK Pirate Scout. Let's add another word to this. No facial. And once you hit enter, it'll open up this window. We want to make sure vertex color is clicked. Export morph targets won't matter because this model doesn't have any. And hit export. If we go to our folder, we will see that we have a mesh 3D object called SK Pirate Scout Morph Facial. If we want to preview this, we can use something like a model viewer to view our model. As you can see here, the model is in the game. It's not in the game, but the model has been exported. But as you can see, we're missing the face or any facial attributes. To do that, we're going to do the following. Select any mouth objects that we want to export. In this case, the eye, mouth, nose, and the other eye. Plus the skull, as we also want to animate it. Right click, Asset Actions, Export, and we want to export everything here. Save, vertex color, morph targets, okay, export. Same for the left eye, same for the mouth, same for the nose, same for the eye. And that's all we need for setting it up in Blender. Click Save All. We close Unreal Engine as we don't need it anymore. And now we are ready for the next step, which is setting this up in Blender. Alright, to set this up in Blender, we want to make sure we have Blender installed. That's the first step. So I'm gonna start from scratch so that I can guide you guys through the process of everything. Once we have the default scene open, press A to select everything, press the delete key to delete everything. There's a couple of setup stuff you need to do. First of all, units. Click here on this window. It says scene, units. Make sure it's symmetric. Type this value here, 0.01. This is the scale that Unreal Engine uses, and it needs to be compatible with Blender. Blender needs to be compatible with it. Press N on your keyboard. Open up this window. Make sure this is 0.1. And for the aim, make sure it's 500. This will make it so that the visibility doesn't get cut off. For example, if it's a low value, you won't be able to see anything. Setting it to 500 fixes this problem. Next up is the fun process, which is basically exporting all the meshes. Go to your folder where the Pirate Scout is located at. We are gonna do the body first. SK Pirate Scout no facial. Click, drag into Blender. It's gonna show this window. Import F. Make sure you untick animation. Import FBX. And this is gonna be the body mesh of our character. This is gonna be the foundation for everything. Make sure you organize everything. As you can see, it's parented to an empty. We technically don't need that, so we can press Alt B on the viewport and keep transformation to get rid of that empty object. We are gonna move everything into the character collection. After that's done, we're gonna click on Save. Save. Go to where the Pirate Scout is located at. For my end, it's located in this direction. Pirate Scout. And we're gonna call this Pirate Scout Blend. Save blender file. And now we can start importing everything else. Make sure you select all the other meshes except for the no facial one. Click, drag. Make sure everything checks out. Import FBX. As you can see, there might be some issues with some areas. Each model has its own skeletal object, and we basically have to replace or separate everything. So just press Alt P, keep transform, go to the female eye, Alt P, keep transform, go to the other one, Alt P, keep transform, open, open, Alt P, keep transform, Alt P, keep transform. And we're going to be left with a bunch of meshes that are separated from skeletal bones. You want to select everything else that is in the mesh from the newly separated models. Hit delete. Oops. My bad. Don't hit delete. Right click, delete hierarchy. Same for the skull. And now we're left with some meshes that are part of the face. What we want to do now, before we do anything, first of all is save. Press Ctrl C, Ctrl S, or go to File Save. Now what we need to do is to apply transformations of this, so that whenever we do any changes to geometry or posing, it doesn't break anything. Press A to select everything. Press Ctrl A, and it's gonna give you an Apply menu. Make sure you click All Transforms. And now we can start merging everything. Let's make sure we actually rename stuff. We get rid of any numbers here. Normally you don't need to do this, you can skip this step, but due to my OCD, I do like to organize things sometimes, at least the areas that I'm passionate about. So what we need to do is to select all the meshes, and then finally at the end select the body mesh. Make sure the body mesh is the last one selected. A good way to do this is to press one entry, hold down Shift, press this entry, and then hold down Control and click this one. Once that's done, make sure your mouse is on the viewport, press Ctrl P or Ctrl J. Ctrl J will join everything together. It will also keep the blend shapes, which is perfectly what we want. Now we can do a bit of renaming. as we can see. It also has all the material slots that we are going to be using to some extent. Also, we have a problem. Um, if you have that issue, just need to undo the merging and fix up the materials first. So let's press Ctrl C, Ctrl Z or the undo key to undo everything, at least the main merging. And we're gonna go into each model and basically verify that the materials we're using don't have numbers on them. So this one has MI face stuff 002. Make sure it's using the one that doesn't have any numbers. Same for the mouth, face stuff, face stuff, face stuff. This is because Blender, whenever it detects a model using the same material, instead of referencing it, it just makes another one, which basically throws optimization off the window. So you want to actually make sure it's using the right material. In this case, looking at it, everything looks fine. Now we can actually do the step about merging. Just Control J, and everything is merged and using the proper materials. Backpack, goggles, breather, Raven armor, armor, body, body undersuit, icon, visor, face stuff, and skull material. This is the this was the whole step from getting the model to Unreal to Blender. The final step is to set up the textures. This one isn't as complicated, but it's just rather a bit tedious. For this step to work, what we're going to be doing is going into the texture paint tab, clicking on open, navigate to where the Pirate Scout textures are located at, the ones you exported. Select one, hold down shift, and then hit open. However, we're not going to use this method. We're going to be using a different method that it's a bit more efficient. So what we can do is we copy this address and move over to the shading tab. I'll be back for a moment. Alright, so this is how the shading tab looks. This method I'm going to show you is slightly faster than the one I was going to do. But it requires an address, so we're just going to paste that there, and we're going to manually drag the files that match the material. In this case, we're going to start with the backpack, which is the most simplest one. So we're going to search for backpack, and we're just going to drag these textures here. Or I guess not. Okay, cool. We're going to drag each one and simply connect all the values for it. And we'll see the model update in real time. So color, emissions, make sure the strength is 5 for consistency, metallic, roughness, and finally normal map. Drag the color pin and don't click on anything, just let go, and it's gonna search. It's gonna show the searching bar. Make sure you type normal and select the option that says normal map. The pin is gonna be connected on the wrong side. Just hold Control, click, and drop. You're gonna see a blue pin. Drag the blue pin to the normal input. You may notice that the shading looks a bit funky. That's totally normal. Go to the normal, color space, non-color. Roughness, non-color. Metallic, non-color. Emissive can be left the same. Same for base color. Repeat the steps for each material and then you'll be finished. I'll be back once that step has been finished. Actually not that step, once all the steps have been finished. Here's another thing you may notice, some textures don't have a metallic value. If a texture doesn't have a metallic value, just simply get this light and set it to 0. That should do it. As we may see here, we may have a slight little problem with the visor opacity. As we saw in the video, we didn't include one. Normally what you can do to, if you want to, is to basically add another channel to the export called opacity, and that's going to give you a different texture. If you don't want to deal with that step, another thing you can do is go into the shading tab in Blender and change this alpha value. The closer it is to 0, the non-visible it becomes. If it's 1, it's fully visible, and it gives you a fully opaque visor. I'll go for something like probably 0.9, since I want to have the skull be slightly visible. And this is basically the finished model. It has the textures included and everything required. A little side note here, for the material called face stuff, you may notice that it doesn't include any textures at all. For this one, you can just set the raw values on the shader itself. Base color of red with probably an emission of the same color too, with a value of 5, so that it matches the rest of the model. Keep in mind that this setup is for Blender. Remaking the shaders in Unity might be slightly different, but the textures will overall still be somewhat the same. For the normal maps, you may have to do some flipping on the green channel, but I'm pretty sure Unity allows you to do that. As for the rest, we can test the model by posing it by clicking on the armature, go into the data, viewport display, and click in front. Click file, click save. We can now select bones and pose our character to test if it didn't have any issues during export. Keep in mind that this is an FK rig. If you want an animation rig, you may need to do that step by yourself. I will not cover that in this tutorial. Another thing to keep in mind is that the FK rig has several bones that aren't needed, such as weapon bones, IK drivers, etc. A thing you can do is to just delete them, or, in my case, select them and make them tiny. You'll never know when you need them, so it's better off to do that. And that's basically the whole setup for this. I hope you all enjoyed it. I know the video is quite long and it will take a while. It is basically as long as a basically Lego building set with its own quirks. That's kinda how it is, sadly. So yeah, I wish you all like the best of lucks. And thanks for watching.